Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast. Today, I'm bringing you a special audiobook segment. Previously on the Mountaineer Podcast, I read from the Book of Legends, an out-of-print book by local author Jane Wodening, who passed in November of 2023. Today, I'm bringing you another audiobook of hers, Moonsongs. Except, this time, it's an audio recording read by the woman herself. This audio has never been heard before, and I am excited to bring it to you on today's audiobook segment of the Mountaineer Podcast. If you haven't subscribed to the Mountaineer yet, and you want to support local news from peak to peak, be sure to head to the mtnear.com and click on the subscribe button in the top right corner of our homepage. From there, you'll get full access to our digital archives and scanned copies of our physical newspaper, as well as the option to send a physical subscription to your mailbox or to the mailbox of someone that you love. Before we get into the full audiobook, here's our top story today, brought to you by Brittany Wagner.
Our top story today comes from Mindy Leary. Plein Air competition comes to Central City. On September 4th, 2025, the narrow curves of Eureka Street were transformed into open-air studios for the 28th annual Plein Air competition. Easels popped up in doorways and on sidewalks as artists from across Colorado and beyond set their sights on painting the mountain town's historic architecture and landscape. This goes back to the roots of art, said Mark Courage, a Parker-based painter who was live painting in the competition. Monet, Van Gogh, the Impressionists, they all painted plein air or open air. It's a discipline, and there's nothing wrong with coming back to the scene. If you'd like the full story, you can read it in this week's Mountaineer or at themountaineer.com.
Special thanks to Desirae Brakhage and Janette Taylor for making this episode possible. To purchase Jane's books directly, be sure to head to her website at janewodening.com or head to Blue Owl Books and Boutique in Netherlands. And now, Moonsongs, read by the author, Jane Wodening.
Okay, have fun.
I will. Moonsongs by Jane Wodening. Explanation. Where I live, at night, it's only the moon and me, or me without the moon. Then it's dark. So I talk with him. Hi, Moon, I say. What are you doing? What are you thinking about? Why are you looking at me? And so we seem to have a relationship. I look to see his expression. I think hard to understand his viewpoint. This sometimes gives me food for thought. Imagine being the moon looking at me. It's humbling to think of. Often I give it a try. The globe, size of the palm of your hand, perhaps, or a basketball. Okay, now, look for me. Humbling, very humbling, but still a heady and glorious image worth facing up to. The perspective of the moon pulls me up out of my canyon in the dark and into the sky, where I can go anywhere. Moon, I know you. I know you. I know you aren't somebody with a warm heart looking down on me with love. I know you're a great wad of gravity-packed rock in orbit around a similar body that I am having a brief and unimportant life upon. I know you don't give a damn about me. I know those eyes and that smile, the exquisite expressions I've seen on your face, are all my creation. As I say this, tears pour down my aging cheeks. Moon, when you're dark and gone, I am forlorn. Moon, your light is like silk, like a lover's hands. Moon, why do I make up this love between us, this immortal tie, when in fact you are a satellite and I a spark of life? I always say I want to know all, how it is. I want to understand everything. I want to see the world from an objective viewpoint. Moon, I see you looking at the earth, at me, and pointing at the sun. Always you point at the sun because your light comes from there. Why do I say you're looking at the earth? You circle earth. You pull the tides. The earth holds you. You never leave the earth, even when you're dark. Ah, I'm beginning to understand. Like a child between two parents, or a poppy between two lovers, I leap between you and earth. The relationship you have with earth I take for me alone. I suppose if I am to understand as I say I'd like to, I should stand aside, watch the two of you dance. No, there's three of you, earth, moon, and sun. There's more. Galaxy. Universe. There's more, too. I know there is. All those scrumptious dimensions. Is this the objective viewpoint? Ah, Moon, why is it that whenever we get together, you cheer me up? The following day. I believe it was only yesterday we had a discussion about our relationship. In yesterday's discussion, we were talking about how, well, it wasn't really you and me. Trying for a moment to be starkly and painfully sane, I saw that you and I are not, how shall I put it, we're not running in the same circles, not cut from the same cloth. In fact, I saw that your eye was not for me, but that you were looking at earth. And then this morning I woke with an urgency to go on with this thought. I realized that in my mind I've been taking the part of earth in your relationship. What I discovered in my sleep was that, although all the objections previously stated still stand, a case could be made for me playing the part of earth. I am of earth. Not only do I inhabit earth, I am made of earth. Life on earth is earth, and I am part of that life. As I write to you, Moon, I speak in a voice of earth. I, like every living thing on the planet, am willy-nilly spokesman for earth, whether I wish to be or not. I do not separate out my own species in this case. I realize, Moon, how kind of squeaky and off balance it would be if humans had the loudest voice in this chorus, this endeavor of representing earth. My realization that our relationship is something different from what I had imagined has brought me to realizing also that I am not what I thought I was. It seems to me now that the only way to think of myself as important would be to imagine away practically everything. But, Moon, that I cannot do. Okay, Moon, I'm ready. You know, the question of importance, about being somebody. I suppose one could be somebody without being important. Since last time we talked, I've known that one has to be either in touch with, or at least reaching out to, lots of things, to everything within reach of the mind, or one can set limits and become important within them. This seems a concept simple enough for anyone to understand. I don't know, then, why I didn't think of it until just the other day. I can imagine someone, it's a tradition of my species, someone who reaches out in her mind and therefore knows how unimportant she is because she sees how much there is. But then she tells something of what she's seen to the other people around her, and because for one reason or another they want to listen, she holds a position of importance within that group of people. At this moment, Moon, I see many possible topics of discussion, like that place in a plant where the stem divides into many, many branches. We could discuss that person who tells what she has seen. We could ask how she keeps the interest of her people. We could explore her mind and see how she explains to herself the transformations she makes between the knowledge she perceives and the way she perceives it. We could bemoan the limits of language. We could study the twisty ways of human nature, the way any mind, in the act of perceiving, reshapes. We could point out the difference between importance and identity, or feel out the possibilities of individuality. Any of these, or countless others, I could calmly take as the next step in our explorations, dismissing all the others like blowing dust off a book. And any one of these, if I presented it well, would then become important in the context. Moon, Moon, stay with me. I've stepped into chaos. Dare chaos. I heard you say that, Moon. Dare chaos. And it soothed me, gave me courage. I assume you know what you're doing, leading me into such places where importance is an almost forgotten tool. Where are you leading me, Moon? If importance is such a tiny thing in all that is, then give me a reason or a direction that's accurate. Oh dear, is there any sense in wishing for reason or direction? What are we going to do? I will look around. I will get the facts that I can perceive, and I will not jump to conclusions. Or if I do, I'll keep jumping to others to avoid acquiring the stigma of importance. Now I feel as though I'm walking through a bog on little foot-sized cushions of vegetation, or lost in acres of tightly packed bushes. As soon as importance goes, whys jump up like great marsh monsters. Dare monsters, I heard you say. Okay, whys, I dare you. Why? 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 They shout. I know the answer to that. For form. Why form? Or why not? Why chaos? Or why not? Whenever I'm presented with two, I go for the third, which in this case, combining form and chaos as best I can into a singularity, is shape-shifting in movement. Self-motivated flame. Oh, moon, I'm tired. I think it's time to wake up. Saying hi to moon. Lots of times I talk with him, especially when he gets big and I can see the expression on his face. Hi, moon, I say, so happy to see him always. What's up? And I focus quickly on his expression, and he tells me what's coming along in my life. It seems like he likes me particularly, or he wouldn't show sympathy like that. The subtlety and diversity of his expression amazes me. He achieves it with rock, light, air, humidity, barometric pressure, pollutants, and my psychological state. Or is it me projecting psychic knowledge on an inanimate object? November, I spent in the desert, and I watched the phases, how he grew a little every day, or shrunk, how he always rose a little later. Mostly he doesn't speak, no need. But one night, that November, he blurted out at me, I'm mortal too. Then he whispered, I will die someday. I understood. I wept for him sorrowing at my death and the deaths of others he knew and loved across millennia, as I have known and loved dogs, goats, birds, flowers, each one gone now. Your goat tree thought you were immortal, he said. Was she wrong? What is truth? I asked him. Which perspective would you like? He asked. Until now, you thought I was immortal. We stared at each other tenderly. Laughing moon. New laughing moon, was it you brought out the great yard-long snake on the desert, his black rectangles framed in yellow I almost stepped on? Sinuously lying yet still, and me stopped by his tail, I bent to touch it. That tail, I had checked, no rattles. He didn't move at all when I touched him. Only the tongue flicked out. That's all. I have felt like that lots of times, lying still, draped in a sensuous quietude, perceiving some disturbance, and merely turning an eye or sniffing to know. Moon, what did that snake know when he flicked his tongue at me? Was it only that he knew I was not that which he feared? Did I emanate somehow my disinterest in snake flesh? Upsetting to think how close I came to stepping on him. Your gifts, moon, I know, are tenuous, wavery, faintly lit, each gift a test of what? Eyesight? Awareness. Mojave Moonsong. This morning I spent 2 hours beside the campfire, staring, gasping, howling, dancing, talking, laughing at the sunrise. Then, with respect and awe, when the sun was up and still there was green and orange in the sky, I bowed and said, "Good show, son." And I fantasized a sunrise stall, an audience paying admittance, seats dug out of the hillside, a fire heating water for coffee, the countless lights of Newberry Springs sparkling below the Newberry Range. 25 years ago there had been no lights in the basin, only the trains howling with the coyotes. And then, Moon, I turned to see you veiled and vague behind the clouds, which made that sunrise so spectacular that one would have to know what one was looking for to find you. You're away from Earth, but not away, not here, but surely there. You pull tides and blood and passions. Your pulse is everywhere without overwhelming, without most folks even acknowledging your forces as coming from outside themselves. If you were a god, it would be that of subtlety and sympathy, of reflection. Last night, your face smiled shyly, orange-yellow at me, when I laughed at your struggle with dark clouds striping north to south. You looked like you were trying to take off a tight pullover. Then I saw that humble face, like that of a child, wanting to tell me something. Or maybe like an old woman, wanting to sell to me what she had worked on hard and long so she could pay her bills and get more credit at the store, get more flour and beer, gas for the old truck, windows, seeds to plant, life going on, life going on. But your life, Moon, is not really dependent on my song. You're beyond the reach of the influence, I hope, of this brief, flashy species, humanity. Yet didn't I one morning see your face in agony, then hear that a man in the town had been killed? It may be, I feel strongly that it is so, that you care about folks, care a lot that humanity would know what you have to give. I wish I could be clear in my mind about all that you know. I will try to be attuned and open to whatever you present. It will take time, Moon, and it will take me daring to think unfashionable thoughts. But I know how to do that. Moon Tree. Yesterday, Moon, I looked east, and over on that barren ridge was a light like someone's yard light. Nobody could be over there, I thought. It must be a planet. Then a slender white tree grew fast like in a mad dream of ancient days, pierced the sky, then sailed up into it, saying with open arms, "Here comes the sun." And I watched you rise higher, turn rosy, and then vanish in all that blue. After all that, I didn't expect to see you this morning. But then, down the ridge from where you appeared yesterday, there you were, a thin, thin white line, not really a light at all, a thin line of white in the early dawn. Moonsong with Daddy. Here I am again, veiling myself and asking you about my identity. I keep doing this, but where else can I find the clear objectivity of the moon? Sorry if I seem to be flattering you, but I just remembered now how, after my father's death, I thought that I should write some Dear Daddy pieces, very short and not sentimental, but going on asking him things as I always had since I could talk. The problem was that he had a personality of his own that would limit what I could say. I still might write to him, but I think these Moonsongs do a lot of what I had been intending to do with that project. I have imagined in converse with you that there is no personality problem between us. I have imagined you to think as I do, to clarify my thoughts. That brings us back to the original question, who am I, and where do the veils leave off and the real me begin? And the answer is, what is a veil? Daddy always used to answer a question with a question. I remember it used to infuriate me, and here I am doing it. A veil is a part of myself that I present in converse with people, myself definitely included, to keep whoever it is from noticing some other parts of myself. The veils are me, but they're not my secrets. It's not that they're not the real me. One has to make veils out of one's real self, like a spider making ropes and webs. Daddy would never have put up with such topics. But now he's dead. I can think whatever I want. Hooray! Oh, Daddy, Daddy, where are you now? Are you with the moon? Am I part of you, or are you part of me? Daddy, I love you. Moonsong with Mirror. This morning I found I had tipped my head to the same angle as yours and was looking with delight at the beginnings of an exquisite desert sunrise. When I realized what I had done, I knew it was time to talk with you a while. This is your big night, your full, though I always consider you have at least 3 of those, or I do. Lots of light all night. Today is the anniversary of my marriage. I remember the occasion well. Angelo made spaghetti. Stan's friends tried to be cheerful. Was my marriage a mistake? Surely not. It was all I could do. I somehow needed a man who would tell me what to do, and he was surely that. I suppose I got past that need to some extent, though sometimes I still find myself being subservient. Moon, isn't that sunrise a wonderful thing? I realize that from where you actually are, you couldn't possibly see it. Yesterday, I looked in a mirror and saw 2 things. I looked very pretty for such an old thing, to me anyway, and I saw also a mad gleam in my eye. It was, I think, the same mad gleam that had disturbed me at my vision of my death, only then it was naturally more pronounced. I would like to understand that mad gleam. I find myself imagining a conversation in which, defining my relationship with you, I call you a talisman for perspective shifting. I suppose interposing that defensiveness suggests that perhaps the mad gleam is related to our relationship? Is it a look of someone who lives in her own thoughts? A gleam of fantasy? But it does have such a look of power, like the eyes of a mad scientist who is inadvertently dangerous, who is on to something. It looks like a clear, bright light shining out through my eyes. A form of energy, I suppose, a style of expression, an approach to life. Oh, look at those colors, the orange, magenta, and green. And see that tiny cloud raining itself completely away. And you on the other side. Oi, what a show! I guess I can accept the marriage I had. I can accept being alone now. There is a sort of battering during this season of horrible, or at least painful, anniversaries. I guess it's good to have them all together and free up the rest of the year. My father's death 10 years ago. I can accept that too. Both of these hurt my heart. Christmas time, the presents. I'm glad to have the desert to come to in this season. Lots of light in a dark time. Oh, moon, you're setting now. I saw you rise last night, huge and yellow. It was startling. And now you're greenish with this greenish sunrise sky. Oh, well. See you tomorrow. Oh, yes. The other thing I saw. Being pretty. Nice. It's a sign of health in me, I think. It's a sign I think well of myself. It's not as though I'd look pretty to someone else, but thinking I am is a barometer of my self-image. I can't think what other use it is at this age, pushing 60, except to snap my fingers at youth as beauty. Feeling pretty certainly wouldn't catch a man. I don't think beauty really does that. What catches man is coming on, putting out, manipulating. Yuck. Horrors. What is the use of being pretty, Moon? Moon, where did you go? Oh, there she rises. The sun. Dawn, moon. Sometimes, when I see you hanging there like this, I wonder, why don't you swing in the wind? Or sometimes I wonder, what kind of glue do you use? Why do all the trees at night turn dark, take light from themselves to put in you? Why don't you fall down? It takes a while, waking up, to shake out the old mind till it's not worried about such stuff. No use trying to get rid of warts in a waning moon, or plant a garden, even down on the plains where it's warm. Don't plant unless the moon holds water, they say. Like a bowl or a goblet with no visible stem, sometimes you're tipped over. Light is so mysterious. Why are you yellow, and the snow blue, and the first sunlight hitting the mountain tops rose, that then becomes rusty orange? Why is it, when everything else gains substance and clarity in the morning, you fade almost away? Maybe the fantasy of the trees giving you light is true, and then, when the sun comes up, You give it back? Moonsong with kite. You saw me, I know you did. I saw you laughing in your first quarter phase beside the multicolored cloth kite. I held the reel of string in my hand, and the kite pulled me. Pulled me! I felt the power of the wind in my hand as I saw you there beside the bright kite laughing. People were around me saying, "Reel it in," or "Let it out." And there were cars and green vegetation with yellow and blue and red and white flowers. The kite was yellow and blue and red, and you were white. The sky another blue. There were bright fluffy clouds, bright sun, people and food and dogs, children laughing, someone on the ham radio. "Do you see the kite?" "No," she said. "Do you see the moon?" I thought to say. "The moon is at the zenith, and the kite beside it." But I didn't say that out loud. If the wind had been stronger, I would have been able to take the kite higher, could have reached out closer to you. But as it was, playing with the kite made your presence known at the party, and made me realize that there was depth and mystery even in a picnic or in flying a kite. I already knew there was depth and mystery in laughter. Reflections on reflections. This morning I saw you for about a minute, a fuzzy light looking at me dourly. I should speak with him about reflection, I thought. Then, when I looked again a few minutes later, you were what they call gone. But I knew you were there. The clouds glowed. You're more dependable than Big Ben, if one allows for clouds. I heard the other day that the Japanese think your face is a rabbit. And Nancy used to say it was a lady running with her hair and skirts flying behind her. I wonder if it changes your relationship with people to have them thinking things like that. But I wanted to discourse with you about reflection. Reflection is kind of amazing. The light comes out of the sun and hits you, and like a rubber ball it bounces and flies to earth, and into this canyon where it has to go through clouds which dim it down to very little, but that little hits the snow and bounces again into the eyes of my dog Sugar, where there are reflectors, and all I see of her is two golden lights. Reflection is like translation. It changes the light into another language. Moon, there's your friend. Moon, there's your planet friend. He's arrived above the hill ahead of you, but I can see your shine on clouds. I know you're on your way. Moon, the well-known they, don't like my songs to you, I hear. Too sappy, too goopy. Moon, do you agree with them? Do I bore you? Would you prefer it if I told you something different? What would you like? A happy ending? A tearjerker? Would you like characterization? Violence? Sex? Yeech. What would be the use of telling you that stuff? They're nothing to you. All you seem to care about is reflection, perspective, dimensions, abstraction, rhythm, flippy logic, things that teeter on the edge of unconsciousness, relationships between things that seem unlike, like you and me. I suppose their disapproval, their disinterest, suggests that our conversations are a private act. This is undoubtedly true. Why is it that some privacies they clamor to hear, and others they find embarrassing? Maybe what they want in writing is not thought, but passion. I don't know, Moon, but I tell you this. I'm with you, and you're with me, and we'll talk about whatever we like. Moon's song about need. There was a story I heard in which the people had asked the wise woman which was more needed, the sun or the moon. And she had answered, "Oh, the moon is more needed because it shines in the dark, and the sun shines only when it's light." One wonders why they asked that. Moon, those nights when you shine, I can get about, and your eerie light makes me go weak all over, as if it were a lover's touch. But it's on the dark, dark nights that I recognize that I need you. Is being needed the same as not being there? If nothing were needed, where would we be? If nobody needed anyone else, would everything disconnect? Would the fabric of society, of family, disintegrate? If there weren't need, would anything feel like a lover? Moon, what are we talking about? Aren't we talking about people and things being part of each other? And if so, are you part of me? Or am I part of you? Good morning, Moon. Thanks for waking me up for the dark part of the morning. This is the happiest time of day, with the silence for thousands of miles, not much of that buzz of busyness from the people. I can feel some of them waking up, crawling out of bed, feeling like I do, that they're the only ones awake. Oh, but it's Saturday night, too, and there are drunks and leftover parties. But we found a place where it's just you and me and the wind, snow on the ground, enhancing your light, you smiling in the window at me, hot coffee here in the thermos. Lines from songs come to me in the morning. A cup of coffee, a sandwich, and you. Or, I think we're alone now. How can anyone be alone with you? You're looking at all that's going on over the half of the world you can see. Some folks are not consciously aware of you, but react to you nonetheless. Others know. Some howl, like me. There was a time when I feared that if I cleared up some of my neuroses, then you and I would break up, that I wouldn't even have you as a friend. Oh, that would be a horrible loss. And it would be separating myself from a whole set of truths, a set of truths that are not socially commended at this time. I know, Moon, the latest fashions in thought are not necessarily sanity. Historical Moonsong. I want to talk with you just a little, Moon, about the history of humanity. I keep trying to figure out how to express to people the obvious fact that other creatures are just as smart as humans. But they scoff at me. Very natural and understandable. But let me discourse on just this one field of endeavor, or really one word: accumulating. The brain, I believe, after much observation, is not the seat of intelligence. The brain is just storage. Humans not only accumulate notions and responses in the brain, they accumulate all kinds of stuff. When folks live and die, they leave their legacies, like those mounds out in the desert that are called tells. Old cities layered up onto older cities, which are mashed onto others even older, layer upon layer, the artifacts of whatever people were doing at whatever time. That's what they left behind. Graves, middens, trash heaps, landfills. We accumulate insecurities and securities, haunts and fantasies, protective devices and systems for warding off any possibility of being singular and alone. We accumulate words and mannerisms, ways of entangling others, justifications for actions that relate us to some social urgency. Other creatures acquire things too: securities, haunts, and protective devices, and the rest. Each species has its own personality, and so collects a different legacy. Some, like beavers and ants, maintain dependencies in many ways, as we do. Some others receive legacies which allow them to live very nearly solitary lives. The wild creature who is singular and alone can often care for herself and enjoy life to the fullest without making any big changes in the environment. This is not proof, as many humans seem to believe, of stupidity. Most humans have not the training nor the sensitivity to live alone in a world of life. Is there any living thing on earth that starts out fresh and pure without enormous amounts of accumulated securities, haunts, protective devices, and the rest? Moonsong during war. O moon, goblet in sky chasing sun, each day a little later. I overheard Vic on the ham radio say, an hour after you had set for me, that you were setting gloriously over the divide. I heard Tom tell how you kept him company down in those deserts where, 3 years ago, I learned the changes of your month by touch. And since then, I've never lost you. Why, Moon, I guess you light up the war now in that other desert, and men on both sides see you and answer. Well, there's the moon, just like in Toledo, one will say, just as the other is saying, "You shine more brightly here than over my dear home in Baghdad." And another will be saying, "Moon's waxing. That means in a week or so it'll be full." And another, "Stay, oh stay in the sky, moon, till this job is done. I need your light." Mostly, though, the men are wordless, using the light you reflect, soothed by something familiar in that strange situation. Of course, I know you don't take sides in war, simply strictly continue with the rhythm of your ways, and yet I'm sure you know how very effective that action is. Everyone knows that you waxed and waned and rose and set and looked down with that face across the 70 million years of the dinosaur age. That if they blew up all the cities on Earth, if they killed off every mammal, every bird, fish, reptile, even every living thing on the planet, and left it sterile, you would continue waxing and waning, vanishing new into sun, pouring light down when you're full. That face, dancing with clouds, playing peekaboo, or glowing behind them, rising big and yellow sometimes, setting with your head back, laughing or crying, playing to an empty house. Moon, tell me, would it make a difference to you? You lit the night. Oh, moon, you lit the night, and I slept through it. What did I miss? The thick snow must have gleamed in your light. I expect the trees swayed dark against the white of the snow. Rabbits must have been out, snowshoe hares too, hopping in great leaps. I've seen lots of their tracks lately, some of them sinking down a few inches in spite of their snowshoes. Was anyone chasing the snowshoe hares? Coyote? Fox? Owl? Did the marten have a midnight dinner of squirrel? Which squirrel? And the ermine, did she dig down for a mouse, or did she snag a sleeping chickadee? Was it one of the chickadees that eat sunflower seeds from my hand? When I woke, the clouds covered your face so that I couldn't see what you were saying. I suppose I'll make it through the day without that. I did see you early last evening, shining in through the top of the east window, where the snow doesn't quite reach the upper edge, and you seemed very bright, unobstructed by the bare-branched trees. Moonsong on the prairie. Days and days it's been since I've seen you, moon. Now here you are on the prairie, low and golden in red sunset, your round belly pointing, as it always does, to the sun. Slim and low and sinking, you follow the sun and your crescent belly down west. After dark, we ladies swim nude in the lake, passing around soap and shampoo. You see us, moon, with your one eye peeking over the rim of darkness. And then a lot of children all rush along the shallow water, giggling and splashing us, looking like so many elves in your light. Then they are gone, and we ladies laugh together with you, and I moon you because it seems a fitting thing to do. June moon, partial eclipse. Last moon and the moon before, I saw your face sour and gloomy. I thought my eyesight had improved and I had found the truth. And sure enough, sour and gloomy things happened for 2 moons. I didn't see how I could make it whole across the summer. Failure, loss, foolishness, pain, weeping, and, most horribly, no words came to my pen. Grimly, as though I walked in a dust storm or a field of mud, I determined to keep some core intact, if only for appearance sake, or for my own self-image. I did note that determination didn't seem to slow down the barrage of bad things happening, but it did somehow improve my patience, and so I trudged on. Always, always I am curious, eager to see your face, and know what my immediate future will be. As you waxed, you seemed thoughtful, speaking for care and trust, as my dear beloved dog left me, and I came down sick. And then I got sick again and feverish, and on the ham radio I heard from Paul that you would eclipse that night, a partial eclipse. And he and John were telling me how very lovely you were, rising through remnant storm clouds over the plains. They were kind to me as I asked, hoarse and feverish, for details. John had been watching thunderclouds for funnels earlier from the roof of his apartment house, and at one point I heard some reverence in his voice as he said, some 10 or 15 minutes before your eclipse was due to begin, that he thought he saw signs of it, and he was going to run down and get his camera. I want a play-by-play, I said in frustration, because this mass of rock, this Klondike mountain, mysterious and wonderful in itself, blocks my view of your rising. And John told me what he could from his roof. Yes, he said, it's starting on the lower left. Is it half a sandwich yet? I asked later. I was fearful that I'd be unable to see you having this adventure at all. Paul and John were both still there on the radio waves when I first saw your light, and I let slip some hint of my feeling about you. There he is, I rasped. I see his light through tree branches. The 2 hams were silent then, and I watched you the rest of the way alone. I was pleased to do it, watching the earth shadows slowly move up the side of your face, then across your brow. At one point I spoke to John. I think the eclipse is at its peak, I said. It's across the top, leaving a goblet shape. But John was grumpy in his warm west-facing apartment. What is it to see? One should be able to photograph an eclipse, but in fact all it shows is a non-circular spot of light in a photograph. Whereas there we were, Moon, you going through this ordeal of the shadow, and I beside you. And ever so gradually the shadow rose from the goblet, revealing your lower face, looking purified and refreshed to the point of ecstasy. And I, my breath rasping through my mouth, the rest of my head stuffed and wadded in sickness, was glad for you that you were receiving this clarity. I wondered idly what the refreshed image had to do with me. I felt so the opposite. But then I thought how the baseball bat has to go back to swing and smack the ball forward. I remembered how the rose had told Alice in the garden to go the opposite way to that which she had intended. I have often said, to soothe myself, that I win by losing. And you are always so clear, Moon, that the only way to the light is through darkness. So therefore I was softened in hope and smiled in loving awe as, after the earth shadow was gone and your circle had regained itself, still there was a mysterious remnant shadow reaching down across your brow, a shadow shaped like tree roots. It was as though veins of darkness were showing through your light, pouring perhaps neglected bits of small darknesses into the great nearby earth shadow now hidden from my sight. And yes, Moon, the next afternoon, all other ills remaining, my pen unclogged and ink flowed again across these pages. Aye, many thanks, dear friend, for that 1,000 thanks. Moon in Wyoming. Here comes the moon. Here comes the moon. Full moon in September. I adjust my side mirror so I can see and be with the moon as I drive slowly west on the interstate behind 5 giant 18-wheeler trucks, all full of salted corn chips. The smell is not of corn chips. The smell is of diesel exhaust. A long row of paired lights approaches me from beyond the corn chip trucks. A row of orange and white construction site barrels stretches for seemingly endless miles across Wyoming, and we, that is I and the corn chip trucks, crawl on. In your inimitable way, Moon, you light the sky and the treeless hills. Someone on the ham radio says, "The moon is out. I can set up camp." My thoughts are not profound. I read and reread the huge sign on the back of the truck in front of me. Frito-Lay. White letters on a red background. A hunger for corn chips grows in me as an acquisitive violence, and I fantasize the corn chip truck in front of me exploding, and then I pull over as though to help, but actually I simply fill my car to the brim with corn chip bags and drive away, munching. Someone on the ham radio says, "The hurricane has hit Hawaii." No one answers him. I realize you are also full over Hawaii, and I attempt to imagine what it's like in Hawaii, a hurricane under a full moon. Song to Full Moon. Hi there. What? Sometimes I think you wake me up when you're full like this, just out of nerves. You get hyper when you're full. You get hyper and make everyone hyper around you. And here we all are, around you, sitting up with your nerves. The whole world. Aren't you ashamed? You're not, are you? Your simple, sensitive face beams benevolent encouragement down across the hillside to me, and I am affected. We all are. I try to imagine what company I'm keeping at 3 a.m. in late February. Who all are wakeful in your magic light, forgiving you? Coyotes. All the coyotes across the land. Deer curled back to back. Squirrels are indoors, I guess, and most people too. But truck drivers are out. And rabbits. owls? Where are the bats in February? Nocturnal monkeys in South America. I bet there are people in South America too, lying in hammocks, looking at you from thatched huts with no glass in the windows. I bet some of them love you like I do.
We hope you enjoyed this audiobook segment of the Mountain Ear podcast. We'll be back soon with another episode. In the meantime, if you want to share this segment or others around with whoever you see fit, be sure to head to the mtnear.com and scroll near to the bottom of the homepage, or head to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com to see a full archive of all of our episodes. If you're interested in being involved with the newspaper or the podcast in any way, shape, or form, be sure to email our editor-in-chief, Barbara Hardt, at info@themountaineer.com, myself at media@themountaineer.com, and or frontdesk@themountaineer.com, and we'll get something sorted for you. I will see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.